Normally, ideas come from life and something that you read somewhere or something that you see on television. Normally, an idea comes like that. But the idea for Distant Echo is quite unusual because I had a dream. The story was in the dream. In the dream, I was speaking French and no one that I knew could understand me. And I was speaking French, but the people around me couldn't understand what I was saying. They were English, and they were telling me that I was English and saying, "Why are you speaking French? And this is crazy." And maybe it came out of the fact that we had moved to France. And so I was having a difficulty with two languages and socializing, spending an evening talking in France, and I think talking in French with friends. And I think I was going to bed at night and dreaming in French. And so this came, the story for the dream would be, what would it be like to wake up speaking another language? So that was where the idea came from for the original thing. What was strange was that I saw a documentary shortly after that on television about a woman who woke up speaking not another language, but speaking with a foreign accent. And I discovered that there's a syndrome where people can begin to speak as if they're foreigners with a head injury. Usually there's a head injury and a coma. And when people wake up, if they have damage to a certain part of the brain, it changes the way they sound. And so she, the woman in the documentary, was speaking as if she was Russian. She was an American woman, but she had the accent of a Russian person speaking English. And her family and friends couldn't understand. They thought that she was making it up. They thought that she had gone crazy. And in fact, it's just damage to a certain part of the brain. So that was interesting for me when I did some more research into the story that I was going to write. I could find some truth in actual people who had suffered head injuries, and I could make it based in truth, based in reality, so that that helped. I think that there's no recurring theme, that each story that I write is individual, but there is usually a strong theme for each story. There's something that inspires me, something that I want to investigate and look into further. With Distant Echo, the theme was really, I wanted to know what makes each of us who we are. And it seemed to me that who we are depends on our memory. And if you lose your memory, you change, because it's like wiping a computer disk clean and there's nothing on the disk. And so there's no information there. So for a person, if you wipe the memories away, who are they? If you're not, you are a product of every experience that you've had. And if you take that away, you're not there anymore. And to a certain extent, that's what happens to the character in the story. But she finds someone else, another side of her that she'd never allowed to be expressed. And this other side comes out because her memory was wiped clean, and she becomes another person. It's interesting to me that so much of you is to do with your past. So much of who you, what makes you is your past. I think for the character in the story, I think it allows her to live a dream, a life that she would have loved to have had. And because of circumstances, she was locked in another way of life. What's interesting then is that this new person is delightful to be with, is fun and enjoys her existence, and that's the person that the main character, the man, falls in love with, this new woman. So the question is, what happens if she rediscovers her old memories? What she becomes someone else? You know, would he love that person? So that's the question in the story. What's particularly interesting about this story for me was it's the first time that I wrote in first person. I used the I was seeing it through the eyes of the doctor, and that's a man. And so it was the first time that I was inside the character of a man, seeing the woman from his point of view. So that was an interesting exploration. The female character is very much based on people that I know, American. She's an American woman, and I have a lot of American friends who dream of living in France, and so I based her very much on those people. But for the main character, who's a psychologist, and he's the man in the story, I did a lot of research into what his background would be, what his training would be, and I read a lot of documentation about the condition, the syndrome, the brain damage, what the actual facts would be about this case if you encountered someone who showed these symptoms, and that was very interesting. The internet helps a lot there. You're able to access a lot of things on the internet, and even film on the internet of interviews with people who had brain injuries, and I was able to watch interviews with them and their personal experiences. So that was all quite interesting to do and follow through.